There we go. All right, but we've been talking, they all really are closely related. They're different things, and they're different things we can focus on as men to be the husband our wife needs us to be and the love that she needs. And this last one really kind of encapsulates everything. And even, we've been talking about the wife needs the love and the husband needs the respect. But we also did say wives also need respect, and husbands also need love. And that's where this last one kind of comes into. The last one is esteem. Right, esteem or honor. So 1 Peter chapter 3, verse number 7, the Bible says, "Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge," which we use this verse with understanding. "Dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor or esteem unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered." So the final thing we're going to talk about is giving honor or esteem, because he needed an E, it wasn't an H, honor or esteem to the wife. And how do we go about doing that and making sure that we're doing that constantly? And what ties into this last part of the verse here too, and the author of the book made a good point of this, for us as men, and hopefully as Christians, we should have a prayer life, right? Where we're praying and we talk to God and we tell God the things that we need and ask Him to make us better. When it comes to your prayer life, how is your prayer life? As a husband, as the man, as a leader of your family, what's your prayer life like? Hopefully you have one. And I know I've had times when maybe my prayer life felt a little, muted. You felt like you weren't really getting through, or you're just kind of talking to the ceiling, and it didn't feel like you were getting through to God, or God wasn't hearing what you're saying. If you look at this verse here, if your prayer life is struggling, or you're struggling in your prayer life, you could ask yourself, how are you treating your wife? And you say, well, okay, my prayer life and how I treat my wife really aren't connected. But according to this verse here, they are very much connected. Dwell with your wife according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as a weaker vessel, being heirs together, grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. So just a little kind of side note that doesn't have really anything to do with esteem specifically, but how are you treating your wife with honor can affect your prayer life, can affect your communication with God and your ability to, have the prayer life that God wants you to have the Holy Spirit helping you there. If you're at odds with your wife and not honoring her the way that she needs to be, or that God says we're supposed to, which we'll get to a couple other verses here in a little bit, but that can hinder the life of prayer for you. So just a little side note to think about as we go into this. So living with your wife and understanding, which we talked about there, or knowledge, and honor and esteem her. So as you look at your relationship with your spouse, your husband specifically with your wife, do you live with your wife in a way that you try to understand her, and we talked about that a few weeks ago, but in a way that honors her, right? The way you treat her, the way you just live your day-to-day life. And it's real easy for us to get comfortable with each other, right? Where maybe we don't treat our spouse the way we did when we first got married, or even when we were dating. It could be as simple as going around the car door and open the car door for her. You see the newlyweds and the dating couples do that, and you're like, oh, brother. And the wife's like, I can open the door myself. The husband's like, she can open the door herself, right? But those are simple little things that do show honor. Not saying everyone here is going to open the door for their wife as we leave church today. But little things that we can do in a day-to-day way that we aren't complacent. It's real easy to get complacent. The longer you're married, the more you get used to each other. You get used to the good things, the bad things, and then between things, it just becomes life. And pretty soon, you're kind of almost living with a roommate, that you like a lot, and you're just getting through. And you're not because you don't like each other, but you're just busy. And life gets busy, and you just kind of go. And it can get that way. And as a husband, it can become kind of second thought about giving honor and kind of treating her better on purpose, and that takes effort, that takes time. The couple acronym that he puts in there is a commentary on the best way to show honor or show respect to your wife. So your wife does need respect, right? But the way she views respect, and the way we as men or husbands view respect is a little bit different. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit too. But Song of Solomon 7:6, everyone loves it when we go to Song of Solomon. The Bible says, how fair, and this is the man speaking here, it says, how fair and how pleasant art thou, O love, for delights. When's the last time you told your wife that she was pleasant and fair? You know? And, no. Were you wearing a shining coat of armor? You know, you had your sword by your side? And we laugh at that, but how, you know, the type of speech that he uses here, you know, how fair and how pleasant art thou, O love, for delights. He's saying, he's giving her compliments, telling her how good she looks. He's talking about her physical appearance. And your wife needs that. Your wife needs the comments on her physical appearance in a good way. Hopefully I don't have to put that in there, but I will. In a good way. You know, they need to hear how lovely and fair they are and pleasant they are. They need to know that. And they need to know you as their husband think that. Right? Their girlfriends will say how their hair looks nice and how their shoes are pretty, and, you know, they complimented as they came in today. They complimented on the things they were wearing to each other, because that's what women do. But guys, you need to do that before you leave for church. All right, on Sunday morning, when your wife comes out, you need to on purpose compliment something about her that looks nice. It's honoring her, it's respecting her, it's esteeming her. It's, again, making her feel love. Right? You want her to feel loved. When you give her the love she needs, then she responds in a way that actually helps you. So if you as a husband are giving things that she needs, you're going to get things that you need, right? The respect that you need. So compliment her. Look for things that you can honor her about. It's real easy to just get ready, jump in the car, kids, no kids, whatever, and just go to church because that's what you're doing. That's the thing to do today. And miss something simple that you can honor and esteem her. Ephesians 5:29, the Bible says, for no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherisheth it. So and this is tied in, you're familiar, I'm sure, with the passage of how husbands are to treat their wives. The word cherish and nourish is used here. You know, he's saying no one hates themselves. Even the people that hate themselves and just are disgusted with themselves, it's really a very selfish thing to say, I just hate myself, I'm the worst person, because they're really focusing on themselves even more than anyone else. So when they get to that point and say, I don't love myself, I hate myself, it's really the opposite. But the idea is that we take care of ourselves. If we're uncomfortable, we get comfortable. If there's something that makes us feel uncomfortable, physically, spiritually, emotionally, we do everything personally to get rid of that or change it or make ourselves feel comfortable. We want to live a life that's comfortable. So God's saying here, as a man, you're supposed to treat your wife like you treat yourself. So if you need something, you do it. If you want something, you do it. If your body or your emotions need something, you do your best to take care of those things. And God says you're supposed to nourish and cherish your wife. So I would say all of us say we love our wife. There's no one in here who would say, well, I don't really love her. But do you cherish her? Do you hold her in a place that's special? Right? Where you just, in that chair, the word cherish is honoring or putting her on a pedestal, really. Putting her in a place that is above everything else and everyone else. And when there's someone like that, you treat them differently. Right? If your favorite baseball, football player, or your favorite actor or actress came into church today and they're Christian, obviously the actors that are Christian and born again, those ones. If they came in today, if Chris Pratt walked through the door, he's supposed to be saved, we would treat him really differently. Like everyone would be like, wow, it's Chris Pratt, he came to our church, and we would be like going out and we would kind of place him on a pedestal. I'm not saying we cherish him, but we treat him differently. We should treat our wives that way every day. We should put her on a pedestal. We should put her above our friends. We should put her above the opinions of, people at work and coworkers and bosses and our kids. Right? Our wife should be above all of those things. That's what cherish means, is to put her in a place of honor and esteem. And it's real easy, again, not because as men we're like, she doesn't deserve to be there. Right? We're talking about good-willed husbands and good-willed wives, people that have good intentions towards each other. We don't take them off the pedestal on purpose, but we just let life happen. And we kind of get complacent and we forget to put her on that pedestal. And we don't actively try to do that. So it's something as husbands, if we want to honor our wife and esteem them, that's what we need to do. Proverbs 28:29, very famous passage of Scripture, and it's usually given to women to be this person. But it says, her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also. And he praiseth her. Many daughters have done virtuously, and this is the husband speaking, but thou excellest them all. And this is, a lot of times women will take that and say, I want to be that virtuous woman. I want to be that woman that her children rise up and call her blessed, and her husband praises her. But I'm going to kind of twist and say, husbands, are you the husband that will help your wife be that virtuous woman? Right? It says her husband praises her. So are you just waiting? And this goes back to our first week. Are you just waiting for her to be the person until you praise her? So once you get there, once you arrive, now you're a virtuous woman, then I'll praise you. Well, I don't think that's what's happening here. This is a husband that treats his wife in a manner that he esteems her, and he honors her, and he puts her on a pedestal. And he says, many daughters have done virtuously. In other words, there's a lot of women out there that do great, but thou excellest them all. Does your wife think that you think she's the best of the best woman in the world? Does your wife think that she's the best, the number one, the top of the list, cream of the crop for everything? Because you tell her, because you praised her like this man did here. That's the bar, guys. That's the bar that we're supposed to be trying to achieve. Now, will you do it every day? You'll fail, of course. We all will. But that's the goal, is to honor our wives in a manner that puts them in a place where they feel this way, that they know they're loved. And we talked about giving them that assurance of love last week. This is another way. This ties really closely into, into that loyalty of making them know that they're loved, being assured that you love them, that you think highly of your wife. And these are just 3 quick verses to give you an example of how we should act and how we should treat them. God has made women that they need that feeling of esteem. They need to be esteemed, especially by their husband. They need to know that who they are and what they do is looked on favorably by the man that they married. They need to know that. As wives, you need to know that. It's something you have to have. Now, if you don't get it, you'll move on. You'll live. You'll make it work, but you won't be on the energizing cycle. So again, as husbands, it's our job to start that, right? And now when we start talking about the wives, it'll be your job to start that. And really, it's both of our jobs to start the energizing, start the energizing cycle. The men, we need to give the love our wives needs, and wives, you need to give the respect your husband needs. So we're talking about the men today, so that means it's our job to put them in a place where they feel loved by us. They feel esteemed. They feel honored. They feel special. They don't just feel like our roommate. That we happen to live in the same house together, but there's no real connection there anymore. And that's an easy place to get to. And it doesn't necessarily take 20 years to get there either. It can happen at any point in a marriage where you just get complacent. So it's something that your wife needs. She needs that honor. She needs to know you treasure her or cherish her. She needs to know that. She needs to feel that from us. And it's a different kind. As I mentioned earlier, it's a different kind of honor or respect than a man needs. For her, that respect or that honor is part of love. It's part of love. It's when she gets respect, she knows she feels love. She doesn't feel the respect that a man needs in respect. And we'll talk about that in the future weeks. But when she gets respect and honor and is esteemed, she feels loved by you. She feels that love is that gets her heart going, and you can make her heart melt by putting her on a pedestal, by honoring her, by treasuring and cherishing her. That will touch your wife's heart. So it's a different kind of respect. But when you dismiss her opinion, right, which we men, we can do a lot of times. With our wives, maybe we feel like they don't understand your job, or they don't understand exactly what you go through and what you see. And when she gives you an opinion on something in your life that might be outside the house, at work or whatever, or even something you're doing at home, and you dismiss it because she doesn't really understand, that's a disrespectful thing to do. And she views that disrespect not as, well, he doesn't respect me. She views it as, he doesn't love me. He doesn't love me enough to take my opinion as valid, right? Whether you take it and follow it is a different story, but understanding she needs to know that her opinion is valued by you. Even if you don't think it's right, even if it doesn't apply, right? In your mind as the man, as the husband, she still needs to know that her opinion on anything is valued by you. You're not going to just immediately brush it off and be like, yeah, okay, like you do to a 4-year-old. If Gemma came up and gave me her opinion on, ice cream cones and how much we should sell them for, or something to that nature, I'd be like, okay, Gemma, pat, back to bed, Cindy Lou, that's what I would do. But if you do that to your wife, if you say, oh, okay, and you pat her on the head, she's not going to feel loved by you. Not literally, figuratively. If you pat her on the head, you got a special relationship, and that's good. But she's not going to feel love from you if that's how you treat her opinion, right? She's going to feel disrespected in a way that makes her feel like you don't care about her and love her enough to value what she's saying. And again, it doesn't mean that they have to take her advice or opinion and immediately implement it. There can be a discussion there, but if you just dismiss it outright, that shows that you don't love her. The respect and honor and esteem are all components of love that she feels. Now, how are some ways that we can show that love? I think a lot of us probably are pretty familiar with a lot of ways we can do it. I'll just remind us of a couple things and give a couple examples. I think the main thing, though, is that we need to do it intentionally. I go back to, we get so busy in life, and we get complacent. That's the word that we use that I feel is most applicable, is we get complacent as husbands to, she knows I love her. Of course I love her. I love her. I married her. We're here. I provide. I work. I do, I'm home. I love her, obviously, duh. But she needs to know it. And she needs to feel honored. And she needs to feel esteemed. And if we as men don't intentionally do that except for Valentine's Day, and our anniversary, those are only 2 times a year that we do it on the way home from work because we forgot to get the card. And you remember the card that we talked about at the beginning where, what was it? It was supposed to be a birthday card, or an anniversary card was a birthday card or something like that. We need to show her consistently. It has to be a thing done intentionally that we do. So some things we could do is we can use symbols to show your wife that you esteem her. Symbolism is a good way to convey to a woman you love and value her. I think every woman would say that. Getting symbols of love, gifts or notes, or it doesn't have to be valuable per se. But don't forget your birthday. Don't forget your anniversary. That's kind of a funny thing. We forgot the anniversary. Ha. No, that's not ha. Guys, don't forget your anniversary. Don't do that. That's the crazy cycle. Forgetting her, even if she says, I don't care. Just don't forget it. Don't forget her birthday. Don't forget your anniversary. Don't forget those things. It's not okay. If you forget, then you come hat in hand, groveling and begging forgiveness, even if she doesn't care, because these are important things. Symbolism can convey your love to her that you remember those days, right? You weren't there when she was born, but it's important to you because without her being born, you wouldn't have her. And your anniversary is important because that's the day that the two of you decided to spend the rest of your life on this earth together. The one person on this earth that you're closest to and just the most special person on this earth than anyone else, any other person. More than your mom, more than your dad, any of your siblings, any authority, anybody you look up to, that one person that you're sitting next to, that you love, that was the day you decided to do that. And that's important. And it's special. And it's not the day, it's not the thing, it's what and why you did what you did. The day you got married. That's a big deal. So men, make a big deal out of it. You want to honor your wife, make a big deal out of that. A lot of times girls look forward to getting married. They dream about it. They think about it. It's a big deal. It's a life event. And not every woman's the same, but a lot of them are that way. And if we just kind of another day, that doesn't honor them. And again, it's not about the expense of the gift, but the thoughtfulness, right? So guys, this should help you, okay? You don't have to buy a Mercedes and leave it in the driveway with a big bow on it, right? Yeah, I know. You're welcome. You don't have to do that. You could. Noah's not here. Noah, are you listening? You could, and that would be appreciated. I don't think anyone would be like, well, some of you may go, well, how much how are we paying for this? But you could do it, and it would be great, a great gift. But, 10 years after you're dead and gone, and she's still here on this earth with all your grandkids running around, is she going to be driving that Mercedes still? No, that Mercedes is going to be who knows where, right? But if you give her something thoughtful, if you give her a card, or if you write a note, or if you take something, there's an example he gave. If you go on a walk and you find, he gave an example of this guy. He went on a walk with his wife, found a nice rock, wrote a little poem on the rock, and it had the date on it, and gave it to her. A rock. He gave her a rock. That's right. He gave her a rock, right? But if you're dead for 10 years and she has a Mercedes in this rock with a letter or a poem on it with the date on it, what is she going to cherish more? Will she cherish that really nice Mercedes that's now, rusting and falling apart, or that rock with your name on it and that date and that moment that she'll remember that you did together be more valuable to her? Well, the memory will be. The memory will be more valuable. The moment you spent and the thoughtfulness you put into it, a rock. So I'm saying, guys, give your wives rocks. Just write something on it and put a date on it. Good. And then say you'll appreciate this when I'm dead. Right? That's how you go. And I'm telling you, honor, just like that. I mean, immediately, big pedestal. There, she's already on it. I think you get what I'm saying. She wants to know you think about her. She wants to know when you're not with her, when you are with her, she matters to you enough that you think about her. When you're at work, you're thinking about your wife. Not constantly. You're busy, Can't daydream all the way. Eric could be driving off the road, if he's daydreaming all day. But she wants to know you think about her. When you're away from her, she wants to know you're in her mind. She is in your mind, rather. Okay? So do things for her. Next, thank her for all she does. We talked about this a little bit last week, too. Esteem your wife for what she does. Think of all the things your wife is, right? If you have kids, she's a mom. She's a boss, if she has kids again. She could be an employee. She could be an employer. She's a teacher. Even if she doesn't homeschool, your wife is a teacher if you have kids. She's a cook. She's a house cleaner. She's a child psychologist. Even if still she doesn't have kids, still a child psychologist. Take that for how you want. She could be a referee. I mean, there's a lot of things your wife is. Kids or no kids, there's a lot of things your wife is and a lot of things she does. She needs to know you appreciate what she does. There's a story he gives also. A husband comes home from work and there's scooters all over the driveway, chalk just everywhere. He can't even park in the driveway because all the toys that are out. Walks in the house and it's just like an explosion went off. Right? There's dirty plates on the table of macaroni and cheese and crust from grilled cheese sitting there. There's ketchup all over. There's pillows all off the couch. There's blankets everywhere. And there's kids are just running crazy, right? There's one of them hanging from the ceiling fan. It's chaos. He walks into the bedroom and the wife is laying there on the bedroom. He's like, what is going on? And she's like, well, all those things, all those times you asked me, what'd you do today? Today I didn't do them. Chaos. Right? Mic drop, Lisa says. Right? She does a lot of things, and maybe even things that we don't notice, because when we come home from work or when you finally get together, it's like everything's fine. Everything looks great. Not realizing all the things that were done all day. All the things, even then if she's been at work too, all the things she did at work, she needs to know you appreciate and see, remember I see you, what she did and what she does. So esteem her for what she does. But don't overlook cherishing her for simply who she is, too. She wants to know she's more than just the sum of everything she does. She wants to know that if she didn't do any of those things, if it was chaos when you came home, that you still honor her, you still love her, you still esteem her. She needs to be loved for who she is, not just what she does. But those are some ways that you can honor and esteem her. All right, so quickly as I wrap up here. Your wife feels esteemed when you praise her for how she handles a situation. Right? Whether it's with kids, whether it's at a job or at a church or with friends, when you praise her for the way she handles something, she feels honored. When you speak highly of her in front of others, when you open the door for her, she feels esteemed. When you try something new together, right? Go outside your comfort zone. Try something new. Don't be boring too much, right? It's okay to have boring days. It's okay to do nothing but do things together. Find new things to do. When you encourage her, when you teach the children to respect her, when you teach them that, that's a good lesson for them in general, but when you teach them to do that to her, that shows you honor her. When you value her opinion, when you choose a family outing over a guy thing, And then when you prioritize her, and I mentioned this at the end last week too, look at your priority list, guys. Look at where the things that are important in life, church, God, your family, your wife, your kids, your job, your hobbies. Where does your wife rank? Like where, if you were honest with yourself, not just what it should be, where is your wife? She should be right under God. God and church, your wife. Right? Then your kids, then your job. But a lot of times we go job, God and family, God, then maybe our wife and our kids. We can mess it up in a lot of different ways. Men like to put our jobs really, really high on the priority list, where jobs are probably number 4, maybe, right? So God should always be number 1. God and church, number 1. Your wife should be number 2. And your wife should know that she's number 2 only to God in your life. And if we're honest with ourselves, she's not always there. We let that fall often. So readjust your priority list. Make sure that we are honoring our wife. We want to be on the energizing cycle. If you want to be on the energizing cycle, give your wife the love that she needs, because she needs it. And if we're not careful, we'll be complacent, and we'll let that slip. And the next thing we'll wonder why we're not being treated the way we feel like we should be treated. That's because we aren't giving the love that she needs. So, all right, I'll wrap it up. We'll be dismissed.